Hi, I'm Adam Lane Smith, an attachment specialist, and I worked for years as a couples therapist. The number one issue I saw with couples who came in was wives who were exhausted from trying to fix the problems in their marriage and husbands who had no idea what those problems were. I wrote a best selling book about this called Exhausted Wives, Bewildered Husbands, and today I'm going to talk specifically to those couples. If you're a couple with an exhausted wife and a bewildered husband, this is for you. By far, the number one question I got from husbands in that relationship was, how do I make my wife stop being mad at me? She's always mad, and no matter what I try to do, she never wants to get close to me. There's a very specific reason for that. Usually, these couples have kids. And typically, the wife's real problem is not necessarily how that husband treats her, it's how he treats the children. Couples, especially who have an attachment issue, if the man has an attachment issue or if both have an attachment issue, they usually do okay until kids get involved. And then those mothering instincts kick in, and that the mother says, something isn't right here. We haven't been attached. Everything is surface level. It's been okay in our marriage so far, and it's been fun, but our kids are not doing well. They're anxious, they're confused, and they need more time with their father. And the father has no idea what she's telling him. It's vague instructions. He has no idea what to do. He doesn't know how to share his feelings. He says everything was fine until we had kids, and then all of a sudden we stopped having physical intimacy. The bedroom is ice cold, and she's mad at me all the time, and I don't understand why, and it's got worse over the years. It seems to get worse and worse and worse as the kids get into their teen years, especially because they really start showing signs of attachment issues. The number one thing I had when men came in would say, like I said, how do I make my wife stop being mad at me? That is the wrong angle. That is the absolute wrong angle because she is not really mad at you for you. She might be a little bit. But if she's perceiving you to be a threat to those children, that you are damaging their emotional well being and damaging their ability to connect, if you, in her eyes, are a threat to their attachment, she will never stop being angry at you. She will never relax in your presence, and she will never feel comfortable enough with you to be in a loving marriage. It just won't get better. The number one way to fix that for men whose wives are angry at them all the time and they don't know why, fix your relationship with your children first. And yes, it will be tough, but you need to fix your relationship with your children first. Because here's the magic. When you fix your relationship with your children, when they start healing, when they start getting better, when they start feeling closer to you, they feel loved, their attachment improves, their anxiety decreases, their depression symptoms often decrease. When they get better, your wife is going to notice. She'll notice big time because they are her world. And you will become a valuable asset in making those children healthy, making them happy. They're attached to you. They love you. They want to be around you, and you make them feel good. And you heal them and make them strong and healthy. That is how you win that game. Not win, but kind of. That's how you and your wife win together, and the kids win together. All of you as a family win that game because you, in her mind, will switch from being a threat to the children to being a tremendously valuable person in their lives. And then she will want to keep you around. That will start to change your relationship. It will change how she views you. It will change how she reacts to you. It will change what she's willing to compromise on to fix the marriage. When you start off, if you're a threat to her, she won't want to compromise on anything because you're a threat to those children, and she doesn't want to give you any more leverage than you already have. If your marriage has zero physical intimacy in it, this is probably a big part of why. If you fix those relationships with your children on purpose first and really fix them, don't fix them with the goal of using it to get sex from your wife. Really fix your relationships with your children so that they are healthy, loved individuals with good attachment. Yeah, it fixes the marriage. It fixes every part of the marriage. That is the number one way to do it. Number one. The second part that I want to talk about is, when is my wife going to stop being mad at me? Because men, we want a target. We want a goal. We want something to aim for. She will stop being mad in exactly 3 weeks, so I just have to buckle down. That question is nails on a chalkboard. to a wife who is miserable in the marriage. It is nails on a chalkboard because it tells her, in her eyes, that you are only changing long enough to get results from her. That means that your change is not internal, your change is from external pressure. She is now responsible for maintaining your change. If you ask her that question, that's what goes through her mind. And that puts her in the position of being your mother instead of being your wife. So she will treat you like a mother with a child who's not listening to her. That's how you get a really bad, really terrible marriage. You don't want to be there. Nobody wants to be there. She doesn't even want to be there. She doesn't want to be your mother. If you want to know when she's going to get over it, it will be when you have actually changed. And what that looks like is minimum 2 weeks. Nobody trusts you on a change within 2 weeks because 2 weeks is about how long it takes to break a bad habit. About 3 to 4 weeks is how long it takes to establish a new habit. By 2 or 3 weeks, she will be looking at you to see if your habit is increasing or starting to taper off at the end of that 2 to 3 week period. Did you go really big at first to try to get everyone's approval and attention, and now you are backing off and saying, oh, well, it's great, that was wonderful, and tapering off and going back to your old behaviors? Or has the change been internal and you are now increasing in frequency and in intensity? Are you, for example, if you're going to lose weight, at the end of 3 weeks, are you increasing your workout routines or are you decreasing those workout routines? If you promise you will never yell at the kids again, at the end of 3 weeks, have you started snapping a little bit at them, or are you diving deeper into emotional connection with your children and doing even better than you were at the start? That first week, how you do in the first week, is a really good measure for how you should be doing the third week. You should be like double what you were in the first week. Your intensity should be way more in a good way. That will show her your change is internal, and she will begin to trust you much faster. Now, she probably will treat you like crap during those first 2 to 3 weeks, and that's on purpose, sort of, because she's waiting to see if you are going to break under the pressure. If your change is external, you will say, well, you're being mean to me, I'm not going to keep doing these good things, and you will stop. And she's trying to make you stop so she doesn't get her hopes up. She doesn't want to get hurt, and she doesn't want her children to get hurt. So she is trying to break you by making you give up. The more you fix it and the better you get, the angrier she will get, and the more she will yell at you, and the more she will snap at you, and the more crazy and irrational she will seem, even to herself, until you reach a threshold where you have well and truly changed. Let's call it 3 to 4 weeks, typically. Depends how long the marriage has been rocky. I've worked with marriages and there's people in their 60s who've been married for 40 years, and he's just now changing, and it's been 6 days since he changed, and he's asking, why isn't she treating me better? It's been 40 years, but I've been better for 6 days. Give it some time. Typically, though, if your change is that legitimate, she will notice by about week 3 or 4. And what will happen, especially if you're engaging more deeply with your children, is they will become advocates on your behalf. And they will begin working on her and showing her how you're doing. And that they will be your little spies, so to speak, on the inside, telling her how good you are and how well you're doing and how happy they are about it. And that will also start to change her mind. When other people start to perceive those differences as being internal, she will start to change. If she is not changing fast enough for your like, it is because, most likely, you are not changing. If you use her behavior as a really good measurement of where your external signs of change are. If your external signs of change are really powerful and intense, she will begin reacting to that, most likely. The most horrible, terrible marriages that seemed like they had no hope at all that I've worked with over the years, when the husband legitimately changed from internal sources and internal pressure instead of external, even those angry, miserable wives came around pretty quickly. Maybe not all at once, but the changes started to be noticeable. They started to be noticeable. Marriages who'd gone on for 30 or 40 years of struggle and alcoholism and yelling and mistreatment, sometimes it was a few months, sometimes even 6 months of gradual improvement, of more love and intimacy. And then when he'd take a step back, she'd snap. Or she'd get stressed out and she'd reflexively snap at him. But then they would come back and they would fix it and they would fix it. And fixing it like that shows her that you mean it. So, my number one advice in that regard to men is do not tell your wife you're going to change unless you really mean it, because she will make your life a living hell. Worse, with every successive failure that you have. So if you have failed, if you've told her you will change 20 times and failed 20 times, and now you're on pride number 21, she is going to make your life an absolute living hell to break you so that she does not get her hopes up and the kids don't get her hopes up and don't get their hopes up. She's going to crush you. That also will test how dedicated you are to your change. If you're really willing to change and you're going to work hard at it and you're willing to do it for you, for your life, and it's a lifelong change forever because you have to, and you know that, nothing she can do is going to stop you. So use that. If she starts getting worse, take it as an sign and as an encouraging sign, because her anxiety is going up because you're changing. You're actually changing. She won't get worse and louder. She won't get louder if you say, I'm going to change and don't change. She'll get quieter. She'll be disappointed. She'll be more tired. She won't have the energy to deal with it. If she gets louder and more energetic, she's anxious and she's worried because you're actually changing, and now she's afraid that she's going to get her hopes up and you're going to hurt her 2 weeks down the line. You're actually getting her hopes up, and that's what's scaring her. Take that as encouragement. Take that as encouragement and do something about it, because that also shows you how much you've been hurting her in the past. And that's a harsh pill to swallow, but it's true. Her behavior is an exact mirror of what you have done and what you've created in her. That's the anxiety you have created in her over the years with your attitude and with your behaviors and with your confusion. Even if you didn't mean to, and even if it wasn't malicious, it probably wasn't. But that's what you've instilled in her. That's the hurt you've created in her, and that's what you're getting. And you're going to get it 5 times worse when you then someday try to change it, because she's afraid that you're just going to do it again. Keep changing, and it will get better and better and better and better. It doesn't get all better all in one go. It gets better gradually. Sometimes quickly, gradually, and sometimes slowly, gradually. But put the time and effort in for yourself, for your family, for your children, and for your wife. And then your marriage can get better. I have worked with marriages that anyone else probably would have given up on. But because they were willing to work at it, because he was legitimately ready to change and say, I'm changing for me because I can't live this way anymore. And she said, I am willing to give you one last shot, even though I'm so tired I can't think straight. When they did that, and he was ready to really change, those marriages came back so good. So incredibly. Even in their 60s. I have seen couples in their 50s and 60s who are happier when they fix it than they were as newlyweds. Their marriage is better than it ever was, and they get to live out their last 20, 30, 40 years together, raise their grandkids and great-grandkids together in love. And that's also a piece, is that healing goes down to your children. When you heal your relationship with your wife, you heal your relationship with your children, partly because you heal the relationship with your children first. And that's great, but they also see your marriage healing, and they see the two of you making it work. And that is incredibly healing for those children, because then you're building a self-correcting system in your family, in your legacy. You're building a family that self-corrects instead of self-destructing. So, if you are in a marriage with an exhausted wife and a bewildered husband, these are the keys. These are the keys right here. The biggest negative feedback I get from wives about this piece is that it puts the wife in the passive role and the husband in the active role. And to some extent, yes, that's true. Yes, that's true. That tends to be how gender dynamics play out with most couples, because women tend to be reactive. Men tend to be active. This is also why men don't respond to the woman changing in the relationship. He stays exactly how he is and then gets stuck and is miserable, and she gets healthier and stronger. Men act when it makes sense, and women tend to react in their relationships and adapt to the people around them. That is just how we function. The vast majority of us. I'm sure there's someone watching this saying it's not me, and it might not, but The vast majority of marriages, men are active, women are reactive. There are two tremendous strengths that allow each side to do different things and work together. Men, it needs to make sense. So watch my attachment videos, understand how your life could be better, understand how things can get better, and how you have a choice, and you don't have to live with the emotional pain that you have anymore, and you don't have to feel like you're failing your family anymore. And wives, you are not passive during this at all, because you are holding up the family and taking care of the kids and holding that whole family together. You're holding up the family in a good way. You're maintaining that family. You are not passive. You are waiting for your husband to get on board. That is why you're so exhausted, is because you have held that doorway all this time waiting for him to walk through it. 30 years. And everyone has been waiting. That's why you're so tired. You are not the passive participant in this. But to fix that marriage, he needs to act, and it needs to make sense. There's very little the wife can do except get him connected with people who have faced that problem and solved that problem before. Men, our brains, are solution machines. We can only spit out solutions for data that we already have. Most men don't have the data for how to fix that marriage, otherwise they would have fixed it. Get him connected with especially other men. Older men help. His age and older. Other men who have been in the same situation and fixed their marriage and how they fixed it. He will listen to them because their solutions will make sense the way his brain functions, and that will work. The flip side of that is if he's not willing to do that, there's very little that a wife can do to encourage or motivate. Very, very little. Typically, what happens at that point is she files for divorce, and he finally says, okay, I am miserable enough that I know it's not going to work and we can't continue, so I'm going to try. And for her, it's too late. It's beyond too late, because she's fully detached and fully given up on that marriage because he didn't act. It wasn't enough when he was in the marriage. Why is it enough now that it's ending? He's only acting so he doesn't lose it. He wasn't acting to keep it. That's the thought there. So husbands, that's also my point to you. Find someone. The male brain works best with other male solutions, but it can be a woman. Find someone that you can get those solutions from. My videos are here. I have What is Attachment? Why Broken Attachment Threatens Relationships. I'm going to do a whole gathering of information and videos. I have pieces on my website, articles I've written about male and female communication, how crucial that is, emotional intimacy, which most people don't even know what that is, how to build emotional intimacy, how to explain it, how to define it, how to make it very easy to create emotional intimacy in a marriage. I have all these guides on my website, adamlanesmith.com. I have them here on my YouTube channel. I'm spread all through the net. You can find me. I also take questions. If you have any questions about any of this, leave a comment. Write to me, adamlanesmithbooks@gmail.com. I would love to field questions. I love to talk to people. Let's get marriages healthy. Let's heal. Let's build. And let's create legacies together. We do that by connecting. And it starts at home. So let's get to it.